therapist, and he's been a physical therapist for over 25 years. He works closely with different industries in our area to help employers and employees with better ergonomics in their workplace. He will motivate us today with you. So if you could please, Mike.
Yes. Hi there. Hello, chamber members. Thank you very much, Joe. Mike Coulter, physical therapist. So we work a lot of industries, but also, you know, our expertise. We're on Main Street, right next to Kroger. Our expertise is working with people with back and neck problems and shoulder and knee and hip and elbow and then hands and just about everything that you could have pain with, from being in poor ergonomic positions and just living your life sometimes on the planet wrong, and you know, being lazy like Joe. I mean, I am a lot of times and not doing anything. But we're going to talk about a few things to kind of get you, you know, try to keep you guys from having pain in your daily lives. So first of all, I wanted to talk about, does anybody ever sit like this? Can you guys see Joe?
100%.
Yeah, what do you, how's his posture? Pretty good? He's exaggerating a little bit, but sometimes, you know, either ourselves, everybody sits in a crummy posture. We all, I tell my patients, I'm no different. I end up slumping like this and my head goes forward just like everyone else, because gravity does this to us. So I have to remind myself constantly throughout the day, just like everyone else, even though I've been teaching this forever. I've had pictures where the staff has taken of me where I'm in a crummy posture sitting. So it's kind of funny, but we know that we can remind ourselves often. So I'll tell people to maybe put something on the computer screen or whatever to try to get themselves upright. But one of the most important things is if we just correct the lower curve in our low back, everything else follows suit, which takes stress off the top of your neck, right where it attaches to your skull, which tends to pinch things off when your head's forward. Go back down in a crummy posture, and then go. Yeah, when you go to look at the screen, you end up pinching things here, and then you cause disc problems in your lower neck. So, and then that can put pressure on your nerves, which go down your arms, and you can have a lot of problems there. So posture is huge. The most important part of ergonomics in the world is posture. So they say that if you sit more than 40% a day, you need to worry about how you're sitting. So it's very important to sit upright. Now, we could do a lot of things to help Joe be in a better posture. And I didn't see how Joe set up his workstation before this, which is horrible. But there's a lot of things we could do. First of all, we have these things called lumbar rolls. And a lumbar roll is actually made for this purpose. But a lot of times if we just sit this right in the small of the back, that in itself will help to sit up tall. If you don't have a lumbar roll, you can use a regular towel. Is that what this is? Joe's got a PT Link t-shirt rolled up that you could use too. There's all kinds of things you could use, but a lot of general ergonomic concerns that will take stress off your shoulders and you know, get you out of the crummy positions, decreasing headaches and potential for disc problems is, number one, raising your computer screen up so that when you're straight ahead sitting, you're looking at the top of the glass. So the glass of his computer screen should be right here with his eyes. So he could maybe either lower his chair down, he could put something underneath his computer so that when you're sitting there and you're in what we call a 90-90-90 position, where we get his hips at 90 degrees, his elbows should be at about a 90 degree or right angle right here. And his knees should be at a 90-degree position. And in this, we don't want him to have to reach out far. So we would want to bring that keyboard as close as possible. Whether it's a keyboard tray, want to bring that computer up. So like I said, he's looking at the top of the glass. And we only want about 18 to 24 inches away from him so that he's looking at the screen. That way, if he's looking right at the top of the glass, just by moving his eyes down, he can look at the center of the screen. And a lot of that will help significantly. As far as other problems that we have ergonomically during the day is even body mechanics, like with lifting. Why don't we show? So I know you guys have all heard this probably a million times, but this is the way we still end up lifting a lot of times, right? And people say, okay, that's horrible. You're using actually up to 10 times the amount of weight that you're lifting is being exerted right here in his low back. So go ahead and pick that up. Good. Now, some people will say, well, hey, I'm still bending my knees. We know we're supposed to keep our back straight and we're supposed to bend our knees. So go ahead and take it down and bend your knees. So, yeah, and don't lift right. Okay. Just bend your knees. There you go. Now come back up. So his knees are bent, but he's still too far away from what he's lifting. So go ahead and take it back down. So what he needs to do is he needs to get as close as he can. So anytime you're lifting anything, whether it's light or heavy, but especially heavy, get as close to what you're lifting, even straddling it like Joe is. So you want to straddle what it is, whether you're picking up a child or picking up a box or moving a couch, whatever. You want to be in that nice upright position, keeping that lumbar curve. So everything we're talking about, whether you're sitting, standing, working, you want to keep this curve. If you keep this curve and remember that inward curve, everything else will follow along. So you want to straddle what you're lifting. And then you want to use your legs and keep your back as straight as possible. The other thing that people will screw up a lot of times is they'll just twist and they'll put something on a countertop just like that. So they'll go ahead and they'll twist and maneuver rather than pivoting with their feet. You always want to pivot with your feet and keep the load real close to you, right in front of you, and not reach out. And especially twisting and bending is the worst thing for your back. That's where we can run into significant problems with your discs, and even where we get into the possibility of tearing muscle. So most of the time when people say, oh, you have a muscle strain, you know, your back, you can put that down. A lot of people, they have a muscle strain, their back is hurting them. You know, and they'll call it a muscle strain. Most of the time, it's not actually a muscle strain. Most of the time, it's actually something, if we strip the muscles off of this spine, it's actually something in the joints that's causing problems. You've got your vertebrae, the building blocks right here, and then a little jelly donut of a disc inside. So the more we sit in a crummy, slumped posture, bent forward, or the more we're bending over repeatedly, the more we're pushing that disc back against that nerve. And in fact, on this side, you can see, I think, if I bring it up here, yep, you can see a little red disc that's kind of bulging back, and it puts pressure on this little nerve right here. That little nerve is when people get pain in their butt and down their leg, and then it's hard to get that off there. Now, a lot of times in therapy, we can help get that pressure off, I would say majority of the time, but when we can't and that disc has bulged too far out, that's when you have to go in for surgery because you can't feel your leg and it's weak. So the best thing we talk to people about is prevention. Number one, prevent the problem in the first place from happening by watching that posture and watch your body mechanics. So you're at a good place wherever you are in life right now if you've never had any back or neck problems. So very, very important to remember that the reason why when people feel like, you know, doctors will say all the time, they'll send us patients, say they have a muscle strain. Well, it's not the muscles. The muscles are reacting in response to something being pulled on or pressure on the nerve. And what's happening, those muscles go into spasm to try to protect the area. And that's when you see people, oh, I can't move. It's hurting so bad. So those are some things to remember what's actually going on back there. But it all comes down to maintaining this lumbar curve in your low back. If we can maintain this curve, here, where are you? There you go. Oh, no, that way. Yeah, maintain this inward curve. Everything else will follow suit no matter what you're doing. The other thing too, go ahead and have a seat. The other thing that we try to remind people too is that if you're sitting for a long time, take a mini break. And a mini break is moving in the opposite direction. Well, the opposite direction from sitting, especially you're in a crummy posture, is just standing up, just getting up and walking around. Walking is extension rather than being in a bent position. The opposite is bending backward. Walking kind of promotes that backward walking movement. So just walking around the office for a few minutes can do wonders, you know, every hour or so, even for just a couple of minutes. Another thing that you can do is you can put your hands on your hips and just bend backwards. Just bend backwards, because if you think about it, that disc has bulged backwards from being in a crummy forward bent position. By going back, we're pushing the disc back forward where it needs to be. So this is a really good exercise just in the office. Now, if you can lie down and you can press up, that's even better. But just doing this is wonderful. We'll do wonders. Just a little mini break. One of the things you can do for your neck too, if you find yourself sore in your neck and you've had this forward head position for a while, is you can do what we call chin tucks. And that's where you just tuck back and relax, tuck back and relax. I always tell the little older ladies that I'm seeing, pretend there's this ugly guy coming to kiss you. And right away they do that chin tuck. Every time. Yeah, they don't want any part of that. So yeah, so just back. Yeah, there you go. So that right there will do the same thing that we talked about in the low back to the neck. It'll help push that disc back forward off those nerves. So that's another really good thing we can do. So trying to remember that inward curve, go ahead and have a seat. Trying to remember the posture and the body mechanics will do wonders to prevent you from having any problem in the first place. And then we talk about with patients, okay, what are some of the things that you can do just in life? Yeah, you can strengthen your core and you can improve your flexibility, and those things are all important. But a lot of times just general movement is important. It doesn't even have to be anything specific. Just walking or bike riding and things like that will increase overall blood flow throughout your body. And if you think about it, more blood flow to your body, the more oxygen and nutrition that's going everywhere. So even if you're doing some leg exercises, your more blood flow is going to your low back. So that tissue is going to be healthier back there. So that's where we have see a lot of problems. People just in a sitting position, they might be, couch potato, and they go to reach over to grab the remote control and they hurt their back. Well, because they weren't active and their tissue was unhealthy. So you just do some general exercise. It doesn't even matter sometimes. That will do wonders, even without worrying about the core and flexibility and stuff like that. It's all important. But that's where, we can have a lot of good results to change things. So anyone have any questions specifically as far as ergonomics or posture or anything like that? Yeah.
Yeah. So what you mentioned about stretching the wrong way and yanking your back out, that happened to me a few years back, and started rowing, and it's improved a lot. But my question is, I still from time to time will wake up in the morning and my neck will just feel cramped.
Yeah.
I continue to tell my wife it's because she gives me this much room on the bed. But any recommendations in regards to, I've tried all kinds of different pillows. I mean, you name it.
Well, first of all, I have the opposite problem in our bed, because we, after so many years, got a king size bed. My wife stays so far away from me. I'm like, I haven't actually rubbed up against her in bed, I think, for months. But as far as, so some of the things you can do, you can see all those neck pillows and everything else out there. And it really comes down to comfort a lot of times with those. Sometimes those are the most uncomfortable things in the world, those contour pillows. But sometimes what you can do is just take a rolled up towel, just something like this, and stick it inside your pillowcase so that it fits. Here, come on this way just a little bit, Joe. So it fits right in the crook of your neck like this. So the pillow is like this, and this is just supporting that neck. That will take a lot of stress off your neck, because as we get older, again, we tend to get tighter. Our heads, most everybody, get forward a little bit. So then when you lay down and your head's trying to relax, things are being pulled on. So those muscles are kind of contracting while you're sleeping. So sometimes this will help you to just relax those muscles a little bit. So another thing too is that if you can find a position on your side to sleep that's comfortable, that's where a couple pillows come in. You always want to try and keep as neutral as possible. What I'll do is I'll double up my pillow when I'm on my side so that you can be relaxed with your head right in neutral. You don't want it all the way this way or all the way this way. You're such a good patient, Joe. Just let me move you around. But if those things make sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And sometimes there's just, if you're like me, you end up getting an X-ray and MRI and it shows a bunch of degeneration, and I just need to move more actually. And these guys do therapy on me all the time.
So Joe, we're running out of time for you.
Oh,
but if
yep.
you want to take a minute really quick and let people know how they can contact you.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, please. Yeah, we're located at, as Mike said, 1070 North Main Street, right by Kroger Plaza there. Our therapist there is Matt Milligan. He's a local BG guy, and he's really excited and been helping people all over. So he needs more work. So keep sending him your way. But other than that, you can give us a call at 419-559-5591, and it's extension 4 for that location. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
You had to see everybody moving their heads and making sure they sat up straight.
Oh.
All right, so I'd like to introduce Kathryn Williford now. She is senior leadership consultant for Integrate, and we had a wonderful business briefing and brew with her. Just amazing personality. She is going to talk about utilizing data and insight to help leaders create an environment where natural talent and abilities flourish. She'll be sharing her insights on ways to improve your work relationships. Kathryn.
Well, thank you very much. Everyone can hear me. Give a thumbs up. Okay, great. Joe, you didn't follow directions. Thumbs up, buddy. Just kidding. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. So Integrate, just briefly, we first and foremost are people experts. All of us here at Integrate have had many years in leadership, leading people, teams, businesses, but none of us would have been successful without people. And we use the word people experts is because we are continuously learning about people. And we make that our everyday job. We say we're data centric, so we use behavioral assessments and cognitive assessments just to get data on people, because there's a lot of reasons people behave the way that they do. But if we can dig down to the root cause of how we're designed and really how God made us, then we can start from there and then really gain insight into everyday interactions, communication, decision making, and really applying it to how you interact in the workplace with individuals, your boss, your team, etc. And then the most important is we are action driven. So how do you take this information? I'm sure all of us on the call have gone through some type of coaching or assessment, whether it was in college or in our current professional world. But it turns out to be an event where we receive a lot of information about ourselves and we gain a little awareness, but then it's like, okay, now what? What do I do with this? And within the organizational structure, what do I do this from a bigger picture standpoint? And how does that really relate to motivation? So how do we define motivation? So Google says it's the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. Okay. Cambridge Dictionary says the need or reason for doing something. Psychology Today said motivation is an internal process. So internal process, you know, if we relate that to people, indicates I don't really know what someone internally is thinking or doing, why they're doing what they're doing. It's internal. Whether we define it as a drive or a need, notice that there's a common theme here, need. Motivation is a condition inside us that desires a change either in the self or the environment. So do we think that one individual can motivate another individual? Thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no. Yes, Jesse says yes. Kathy says yes. So actually, it's our belief, this isn't based on any scientific research I've done myself, but it's our belief that you really can't motivate someone. You can only create an environment or a climate in which someone can be motivated. So we're getting into this like conceptual realm. So decoding the human, you know, I've read a lot of articles on motivation, and even I have over 20 years experience in the leadership space. And so I read all the books and the articles about how to motivate your employees, and I'm a mom. So of course I want to know, how do I motivate my children? And it takes a lot of time to get to know someone. It takes a lot of time to understand what someone needs, what excites them, and trying to treat everyone the same generally falls flat, because the natural thing to do is I'm going to try to motivate you how I feel motivated. So I feel motivated with a lot of energy. I like words of affirmation. I like knowing the vision, the big picture. That motivates me to work towards something. Now, on the opposite side, what demotivates me is micromanagement, a lot of details that wears me down, negativity or naysayers that really weighs me down. But some people would be motivated, not necessarily by naysayers, but those of us who ask a lot of questions. So how can we expedite that process? Because in this world, and we're on the computer right now, in this remote world, how can we really get to know someone and what their drives and their needs are without data? Because it takes a lot of time. So at Integrate, we use what's called the Predictive Index. Has anyone heard of the Predictive Index? Yes, Joe, you have? Okay. So essentially the Predictive Index, it's an entire optimization platform. I only talk about the behavioral assessment. So the behavioral assessment, what it does is it measures drives, the intensity of someone's drives. And out of those drives then create needs. So if we relate that back to motivation, our motivation for behaving in a certain way. So if you look at the PowerPoint, people have drives. Those drives then create needs, and our behaviors are a response to those needs. Now I'm not going to dig into the Maslow hierarchy of needs or anything like that. But you wonder, what is motivating that person? Why do they behave the way that they do? And so again, to really understand that and to expedite that getting to know you process, we use the data. So all behavioral assessments are really great. What I like about the Predictive Index behavioral assessment is that it's simple, actionable, and very accurate. So it measures 4 primary drives. We're going to go through these really quickly. So dominance, the drive to exert one's influence on people or events, the drive for social interaction with other people, the drive for consistency and stability. Also think about variety and pace, how quickly someone likes to work. And then think of formality, the drive to conform to rules and structure. Okay, so out of all of those drives, when we take this assessment, it's measuring our drives and the intensity of the drives. And out of those drives, then create needs. Okay, so if you look at, I don't know if you can see this, is probably pretty small on your screen. I can have Mary send it out to the group. But you can imagine let's just take dominance, the A, for example. If someone has a high need for independence, okay, would it be motivating to them to work in groups 100% of the time in their role? Yes or no? Thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no. If someone has that's right, Jesse, thank you for participating. That's right, it would not motivate them. So, but if someone has a high need for encouragement, harmony, understanding, now, would they be motivated if we had Monday, not Monday morning, but morning meetings every morning? Yeah, they would be motivated to go to that because it's meeting a need of theirs. It's meeting their need for understanding. It's meeting their need for encouragement. So one of the things that we talk a lot about, integrate, and when we work with our clients is called leading to the one. And that really can apply to an individual. It can apply to a team, a division, because if you think about it, we all create these micro cultures among our offices, among even just hallways. So if we had 2 hallways, one hallway is going to have a different culture than the other hallway because of the makeup of the individuals. And so what this data does for us is it helps us understand at the very core level of what someone's needs are, and then we're not playing that guessing game. I'll give you an example. Lisa is one of my most favorite examples. I supervised her for probably 6 or 7 years. And when we first got together, we were building a new program together. She was an existing employee, it was very small at first. And I tried to motivate her and get her excited about, you get to define your role. You get to say what your hours are. You get to say what you're in charge of. Isn't that exciting? Well, then I would get frustrated because she would look at me with like the deer in the headlights, like, no, that doesn't sound exciting. I need you to tell me what to do. Well, it turns out, thankfully, I left my previous role on good terms, and she took the assessment, and so I'm able to use her as an example. But she actually had a high need for details and understanding of rules and regulations. So if you look down to the D, and so what motivated her was actually knowing exactly what I wanted her to do in her role. So together we formulated that, et cetera. But I was operating out of my formality, which is low, So I don't want someone to tell me specifically how to do my job. I don't want them to say, oh, you're 5 minutes late. No, I got my work done. It's fine. I couldn't work for a company that I had to clock in and clock out. I just wasn't for me. So again, relating that back to motivation, I was trying to motivate her and create a feeling and a behavior in her that wasn't congruent with her drives and her needs. Does that make sense? And so where this data is so powerful is we start seeing people internally where all we're seeing is behaviors, and some people behave in a way that's not congruent with who they are because they are trying to please their boss. They're trying to behave in a way that they think they're expected to be. So we may be getting mixed messages, and then all of a sudden we have a great employee put in their 2 weeks and we don't understand why. Well, they actually were doing a whole lot of adapting. So again, when we look at needs, it's like really digging down to, first of all, what is that need and how intense it is, okay? And so I'm going to open it up for questions and discussion, if we have any questions or discussion. But if you are interested in taking the assessment or connecting with me, you can scan this QR code. It'll take you directly to the behavioral assessment. Again, Mary can send this out if you don't want to do this right now, but I'll get a notification that you took it, and we can spend some time together just going over your results and talking about how you can use it, whether it's personally, as an individual, as a leader in your community or your organization. I'm more than happy to spend time talking to you. Any questions or objections to what I said this morning? I love a good debate.
No debate here, Kathryn, but tell me about, in those assessments, how many strengths do you normally see and how many on the low category do you see? Is there usually one dominant? Are there usually two dominant? In those 4 areas, what do you normally see?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the results, regardless of if a result with one of those 4 factors are high or if they're low, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a strength or a weakness. So what it produces for us is it just tells the intensity. So if you think of a high dominance, that's the intensity of the dominance. A low dominance says it's less of, it doesn't mean bad. Both areas, all areas, serve for us as strengths and can serve for us as cautions or what we call blind spots. We don't really focus on the word weakness. It's a little semantics, but I think we focus so much, especially in the United States, on weakness. Like, I gotta focus on my weakness and I gotta build this. Well, okay, you have to be aware of it for sure. And there's times where you're going to have to build a little bit of that muscle. But what we want to do is really focus on what it is that you do bring to the table and how can you utilize it? How can it work for you? And being aware of when it works against you and how to dial that back. You know, for example, I have very to almost extreme dominance, and it worked for me with my team at my previous role. My staff loved me, but I got to build them from ground zero. So they knew what they were getting into when they became a team member of mine. It does not work at home. My daughters are very sensitive. And I have to, when I'm in my dominance mode, I just have to say, Mom's in work mode. I'm not mad at you, especially with my oldest. She's a sensitive soul. So I just could say, well, you know what? This is just me. You're going to have to deal with it. Well, I'm investing in the relationship. And so I do dial that down. And I did have employees that were more sensitive, and I had to really sit back, and I knew I had to take a deep breath, and because I can't be intense and it doesn't work for everyone, and that's okay. But how do we do that in the realm where we're investing in the relationship, but not giving up who we are? And that those are vastly different. So I wouldn't say it's a matter of how many strengths and how many weaknesses. Did I answer your question, Kathy?
You did. So yes,
Okay.
each one has an intensity level, and knowing our intensity means that we can put ourselves in the right spot.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's going to be times where you need, so for example, if someone has lower dominance, they may have difficulty with difficult conversations. They may struggle with that. Well, depending on their leadership journey or even their stage of life, they may conquered that. They will always feel uncomfortable with it, but they may have conquered it. Someone with higher dominance, myself on the other hand, I have no issue with uncomfortable conversation. I'm like, let's talk it out, let's work it out. And that can be a lot for people. But yeah, so it's just a matter of, just that self-awareness. And then what I say, the sweet spot and the power that you have, because we all have those drives create needs. That sweet spot is we have a decision point between those behaviors. And so I think it's like super powerful once you have that acute awareness of yourself, and then you can start seeing in others like, okay, I don't have to take that personally. They're just quiet, or they're just, whatever the case may be. It significantly improves communication, decision-making, team dynamics. Everyone here at the Integrate office, we all have high dominance. So we've had some conflict, but we use the data language to communicate. It is straightforward. We talk about it, we work it out, and it's done. No one takes it personally. It's like, and we get along great, but there is a lot of high dominance in this office. So we get to laugh about it because we all know how each other are designed. We didn't have to figure that out. So.
And that was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
A little bit of something away. And again, they can scan the QR code and I'll be forwarding them the information. Is there any other contact information you wanted to share with the group?
Sure. You can email me at Kathryn@intogreat.com, or feel free to text or call my cell phone 419-601-5444. I'd love to meet you as individuals and take you to coffee or lunch or breakfast, whatever your heart desires. I don't do dinner. I reserve that for family. Sorry.
There you go. Right. Well, next on our docket is Kathy Wilhelm. And, I have her down here as studio manager for Hagemeyer Fine Photography. But I am telling you, she's so much more than that. She has so many facets to her life, and a very dynamic person. And I'm so excited to introduce her. And she will be presenting on Life's Journey, Make It Real. Kathy, you're up.
Good, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. I am going to I come to you wearing 3 hats today. I do come to you as shared owner with my sister Cheryl of Hagemeyer Fine Photography. We're located just down the road from the Wood County Museum. And I am happy to say we are going to be celebrating 35 years of full-time business in August. Thank you, sir. So we have traveled this journey for a while, dealt with a lot of employees, a lot of business issues. So I bring my personal experience to the table there. I also work with Dr. Michael Brown in DMB coaching to do some executive coaching and life coaching work. And I am also part of the BG Chamber Board. So you're going to see that I have woven all of those things together today. And Mary, you are going to take me to lunch because this is a great BG Chamber commercial that's about to happen. Okay, so let's chat. I want you all to fly to the chat real quickly because I would love to see your responses to this. Life is a sprint to the top, B, a racetrack from one task to the next. I'm tired. And C, I'm coasting or sliding back a bit. Or D, an intentional journey. Where are you today on that? Chat that out for me just a minute and show me where you are. Okay, and then moving on, we're going to focus on hopefully getting you down in here to D with a little motivation today. Okay, let's get real and include the resources of the BG Chamber when we do it. First of all, let's be honest. This is an awesome time for Mary to have this March motivational meeting, right? Because the New Year's resolutions are long gone and they're done. And we are living in Northwest Ohio in gray and dreary, and all of us are done with that too. So thank you, Mary, for this chance to kind of re-energize and refocus. And so far, the first two folks have certainly done that for me. I appreciate their messages very much. We're going to tear apart with an acronym the word real. I want to give a head nod to Dr. Michael Brown for allowing us to utilize his content here today in this way, and to interject a little bit of life experience and chamber opportunity in there as well. We're going to first look at R. R is for reject. Reject passivity, irresponsibility, and procrastination. These are all things that even as seasoned business owners, we get caught in these traps, right? And so I'm probably going to talk a lot about the obvious today, but sometimes I think people who have brought these kind of things to my attention have helped me to refocus and redial my own business to be more on track. So I'm hoping I can do that for someone here today as well. It's about living intentionally versus living in a reactive sense. If you are walking into the office every day and your main job is catching china plates that people are throwing at you, you are drained with energy and your motivation is way down here. But if you are setting the table as you walk into the room every day, then you are in control, you're driving the bus, and you know that you have a plan. This can alleviate a lot of that energy drain of only catching things as they happen, but instead being the one who makes them happen. Now, how do you do that? There are some things that business owners and leaders can do. One is to make sure that you have clear focus of your North Star. Have you looked at for a while, what is the main goal of my business? What is the mission statement? And why am I here? Have you looked at the North Star? Once you have a clear perspective on that, then start setting your goals weekly, monthly, quarterly, biannually, annually, based on the North Star. Now, what I would invite you to do at the end of the first quarter here, if you have the luxury to take an hour, an afternoon, awesome if you can do a whole day with you or your team to reevaluate some of these things. The last 3 quarters can look a lot different than if the first one has drained you, right? Once you have your goals, then you plan your objectives. My challenge to you is make sure you use a calendar when you do that. Do not set a plan without dates and targets. Now, will you have to tweak that over time? Absolutely. But you will tweak it based on circumstances and based on how you are still going to hit those ultimate goals that ultimately lead to your North Star. And then look to the BG Chamber to help you meet your goals. Now you're in control. So business plans, dates, and sub goals, marketing plans can all help you to be motivated to move forward and get unstuck. Chamber education. This is a prime example today, what we're offering, prime example of a great opportunity to retool, to rethink things. Chamber networking. We're going to talk more about networking in a minute, but that is another great place to make sure that you're utilizing your business community in the best sense. Chamber networking is not always about passing a business card. Chamber networking is, thank you, sir. Chamber networking is more about finding out who are the resources in my community that I can utilize, team with, build deep relationships with. And networking that is deep is so much better than networking that is wide. If you want to talk more to me about that, see me at a chamber event. I'd be happy to talk with you about that. Exhibit honesty and integrity. Folks, as business owners, we encounter mistakes. Mistakes that we make, mistakes that our staff make. I have seen business owners who try to hide them, and I've seen business owners who tackle that with transparency, honesty, and integrity. And I can tell you who I think more of. So lies are often told correct based on that person wants us to think that they look better, but usually they don't. So using honesty, integrity, first with yourself, then with your staff, with your customers. And being honest means, yes, you own the error, but you also develop the solution. Now, how have you done that in the past? That's a great way to figure out how to tackle a new problem. Did you use collaboration, research, asking others? Network with your chamber members to see how they might be part of your solutions. because they have so many skills, talents, business knowledge. Kathryn mentioned, I'll take you to lunch, I'll take you to coffee. Do that. There are decades of business experience in the Bowling Green community. Are you utilizing it? Are you building relationships with those folks? A is for appreciate, transparency, and connectedness. Now I'm going to talk for a minute on how you can best utilize a networking event, right? Be more interested than interesting. Yeah, we've heard that before, but it is so true. Focus outward. When you walk into the room, do not be most concerned about passing a card and telling people what you do, because a lot of people walk into those events with that focus. And do any of them listen to each other? Probably not, because they're thinking about the next thing they want to say. Be interested in that person, their story, their office, their clients, their staff. Be interested with those folks too, not just folks at networking events. And focus again on building deeper networks instead of wide networks. Now, this is the gem of the day. I did not make this up. I got it at another great speaking event, and I want to share it with you today. But how many people do you know when you are telling your story, you can tell they're crafting their response, they're not listening to what you're saying? How many of us have done that on the reverse as well, correct? Well, here's your acronym for today. WAIT. Why am I talking? If you're talking in your head, or you're talking over top of somebody else when they are telling their story, you've lost it. You miss it, right? So remember, when you walk into a room, why am I talking? Listen. People love to be listened to. And I will tell you that you will be more remembered if you listen than if you hand out 10 business cards. People will remember the folks who listen and show interest and care in them, and givers gain. So I would always challenge you to also add, how can I help you in your business? Because that is not something people hear at networking events. And givers gain. Might not be reciprocal. Don't look for that. Don't give to gain. But I will tell you, in my life, givers gain. Last one, and I hope I haven't run over too much. Lead. Lead intentionally and authentically. Okay, here's a chamber commercial. Mary, in her awesome leadership, gives you the opportunity to function in your community with chamber committees, leadership BG, ACT BG. Local philanthropics are also looking for great people to lend a hand. If we build together, our community is stronger, and you develop leadership skills that will happen not just there, but in your own business as well. So, John Maxwell, one of my favorite guys, we grow most when we are in our strength zone and outside of our comfort zone. So in these challenges today, not all this stuff is fun. And Kathryn, I so listen to your point that we are all wired differently and that we will all grab this in different ways. But make sure you are functioning within your strengths, but outside of your comfort zone. Now, here's the good news for today, and then I will close here because I don't want to run over, but that is that you are enough. Life is a journey of experiences that makes us progressively better if we navigate the journey with care. At any given point in the journey, we are enough for this day in our lives. So if you look at this and say, wow, I have so much work to do, you are enough for today. Work through that with the talents and the skill level that you have, and you will build on that to be a better person tomorrow. And I challenge you now, one last thing. I never like to do something like this without having you take something home to do. So choose your action step. Put it in the chat if you would like. But number one, I will identify a draining business challenge, write down the desired outcome, and set a plan to make it happen. 2, I will attend a chamber networking event and implement the practice of being more interested than interesting. I will remember that givers gain. And 3, I will seek out a leadership opportunity in my chamber or the greater community and build relationships that can prove to be valuable both personally and professionally. Hopefully I have lit the fire underneath you that you want to tackle all 3. Just pick one. That's it, folks. There you go.
Kathy, that was amazing. Thank you so very much. Can I make that into a commercial we can put on our website?
There you go. Nobody will watch that long, Mary.
So we've gone through 3 parts, and Jesse, I'm just gonna take one really brief minute and let you know that this is exactly what I was hoping was going to happen with these bites, our lunch bites, breakfast bites, and snack bites series, is getting little bits. Everyone should be able to take something away from what we've talked about already. And we do have another lunch bite scheduled in April. The information will be on our website soon. So please check it out. But that leads into what Jesse's going to talk to. That is going to be a lunch bite, and it's called net walking. So you'll come out and do a series like this about the chamber and all the things that we offer. You will net walk. You will network with people and get a little walking in the park. How exciting does that sound? So I hope you're all enjoying this. You'll be able to pass it on to others you talk to and say, it really works. 15 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but you have all put so much into that 15 minutes. And now I'm gonna pass this off to Jesse. And just a little bit about Jesse. He is with Western and Southern Financial Group and has provided educational workshops and seminars throughout the United States. This is not his first rodeo. He will be providing information on the basics of networking. So listen and be ready for April. Jesse.
All right, thank you. And I'm with you, Kathy. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? All right, I'm going to try to pull this off in 8 minutes because I have a hard 1 o'clock stop. So first and foremost, I believe that almost nothing great happens without first having a great connection. Would you agree? And I don't mean the LinkedIn type, okay? Even though it could start there, but I mean a real live personal connection where you feel good about having met someone and feel good about yourself. That's a connection. If you go to the right place, say the right things, meet the right people, and ask the right questions of somebody. If you ask the right question, you get the right answer. And if you ask the wrong question, well, you'll get the wrong answer, which is usually no. Now, there are 5 reasons why people proactively look to make connections and network. Number 1, to land a job. Number 2, to write business, generate referrals, even hire someone. You know, the more business bucket, just kind of throw that all together, etc. 3, to learn something about what? Product, service, industry, profession, market segments, niche, geography, etc. If you know what it is you need to learn, you will know where you need to go, what you need to say, and whom you need to say it to. 4, social reasons. Have you ever heard of Facebook and Instagram? Right. Social reasons, right? Sort of meeting people in the effort to make friends, to date, to meet the love of your life, whatever it may be. And then 5, to solve a problem. To solve a problem. Example, I lost my mother of brain cancer many, many years ago. And she was 45 years old. and I couldn't network enough. There just wasn't enough time to learn about medicine and treatments and doctors. And I could not network enough to gather enough information to help with our situation. So again, 5 reasons someone's at a networking event. It's profoundly simple: to land a job, to write business, more business buckets, to learn something, social reasons, or to solve a problem. Now, I don't think that networking and the ability to make connections is a switch you flip when you're looking to land that job or internship. I believe, and the reason I said internship, I said on the board of Bowling Green State University, I do a lot of educational workshops for the grads, and this is a lost art. But I believe the switch should always be on, because you are more likely to capture an opportunity for yourself or to help others if you are already thinking like a networker. So what gets in the way? Fear. But really, what's the worst thing that could happen? If you go to the right place, say the right things, and meet the right people. Now, I'm a bit of a rules guy, so I'm going to cover this quick. I have 23 of them, actually. I think every networking event should have rules on the door, but I'll cover 5, going back to what Kathy said. I'll cover 5 real quick. Number 1, just like the pool, right? You know, it's like a huge financial transaction. You're like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. You see that, you see that, you see that. Okay. You are not going to connect with everybody. Number 1 rule, don't try. I believe if you meet 10 people, you will probably only connect with 2 of them. The 1/3 dynamic. 1/3 of the time will be a connection. Focus on the folks you have a connection with. Number 2 rule, no selling. You can't sell yourself. There is a time and a place for that. It should not be a place where you're handing out your resumes and your business cards, Kathy, right? Because I would simply say, listen, I have no idea who you are. You have no idea who I am. And if your intent is to acquire me as a client and take that card back and throw it in a CRM system and solicit business to me later, I'm not interested. And I'm sure there are many people here that need your service. Good luck. And I'm going to get away from that person as fast as possible. But no selling. It's not appropriate. Networking and connecting, in my mind, is about learning from and potentially helping others. As Kathy mentioned, with intention. You need to walk into that room as a servant at heart. Be selfless, not selfish. Helping another is I get so passionate there. I've been to so many events, and I'll have a conversation with the director, and if it doesn't change, I won't be back. Because nobody wants that. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward. So I got to speed up here. How can you help one another? It should be like a collaboration. Number 3, I believe you should have a target market. As Kathy mentioned, you have to have a marketplace that you are focused on, whether it's landing a job, writing business, whatever it is, and define a target marketplace. And that's when you serve, where you serve the best, where you wish to serve the most, where you choose to do most of your work. An industry, a profession, marketing segment, a niche, demographic, geography, etc. Because if you know exactly with whom your target market is, or could be from connecting standpoints, you might have a clue to where you might go and what you might say and whom you might say it to. You need to know how to ask questions, and you should ask lots of questions to people. So I'm going to give you real quick 4 questions that you can ask. It'll take a few minutes for you to memorize these. Okay, it's 1 o'clock. Number 1, so what do you do? You know what? These consultants will get over it. I'll go over just a few minutes if that's okay. If not, I'll cut it off. Just yell at me. Number 1, so what do you do? Number 2, who do you work for? Number 3, how long have you been at it? 4, do you like what you do and why? 5, anything about your work you don't like? 6, how do you market your business? 7, what brings you to this event? Have you been here before? 8, what are you looking to accomplish here? 9, who would you love to meet and why? 10, how do you help your clients or customers? 11, what do you do for fun other than working and networking or networking? And then 12, the most important in my opinion, how can I help you? How can I help you? My measure is, I'm out of time. I'm out of time, guys. Unfortunately, I got to run, but I'll open it up to questions real quick. If any of you are interested, you can reach out to my assistant. Her name is Jennifer Brott, and her phone number is 419-422-3345. And I'd be more than happy to schedule a one-on-one, come into your workplace, or do a private workshop. I hold them all the time, and start improving our ability to be selfless, collaborate effectively, listen well, and help each other grow. Because this is a lost art. I know I had more on that on the agenda there, but I wanted to cover how to create a positioning statement, to create brand and marketing gravity, using profession, expertise, environments, and call to action. The questions, why people are afraid to do it. A lot of good stuff. And open it up to questions real quick, and then unfortunately I gotta run. Any
Jesse,
questions?
I'm so sorry you gotta go last. I'm not seeing any questions except that they would like the list that you went through. If you could have your assistant email it to me, please, and I'll get it out to the group.
If you would like to send them what I sent you,
Okay.
that would work too. And all that is your call to action plan, a couple examples. I just typed this up. Your questions to ask in a networking environment, what prevents people from networking, and the 5 reasons people are at a networking event. So your goal is to find out why, who they are, how you can help them. And in turn, most people ask, who are you and how can I help you? Not everybody, but most people.
Thank you so very much. Again, how dynamic was this? I appreciate every one of the presenters, all of you for joining us, and I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon.